Hello everyone, and welcome to the next assignment, Vector Avatar. For this assignment, to get started, you want to click New File, and you want to make your canvas size 3000 by 3000 pixels. Make sure you're in pixels and not inches. Make sure your raster effects is set to high 300 ppi, and click Create. You'll see that I've gone ahead and set up my first character in Illustrator. I went ahead and put everything out on its own layer, so things like hair, mouth, eyebrows, things like that are all isolated on their own layer and labeled accordingly, and they're all grouped under Avatar 1. What you'll want to do is spend some time creating your own character template. You can kind of copy mine, or you can create your own. It's totally up to you. When you're ready to copy, for the Vector Avatar assignment, you want to come down here and hit Create New Layer. Oh, I almost forgot. If you can't see the layers, make sure that you come up here to the top to Window, come down to Layers, and make sure it's selected. And that should get you set up. So when you're ready to create a new layer and copy over your avatar, click Create New Layer. It should give you Layer 2. To copy your avatar into this layer, go ahead and click this little selection icon and hit Control C, Command C if you're on a Mac, and then you'll want to come up to Layer 2. Make sure to deselect your selection by left clicking on the screen. Make sure Layer 2 is highlighted and hit Command or Control V, and that will copy your avatar over into that new layer. If you think you're done with this current avatar, you can go ahead and hit the lock toggle to make sure that you can't select it or modify anything with it when you're working on it. And then come back over here and move this one up into its place. Just like that. Now that we have our avatar copied over, we'll want to make some modifications to it. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. If you want, and you don't want to be distracted, you can hide your previous avatar, or you can keep it as a reference point. We're going to go ahead and go into our drop down now, and we're going to start modifying some features. So right off the bat, I know that some of the easier things to modify are my fill colors. You'll see that if I go into the eye is actually multiple Illustrator objects altogether. That's because I've done something called grouping them. If you're looking to group your objects in Illustrator, you'll look up here under the Object panel, and you see that you have the Group option. For now, I'm going to ungroup all my objects so you can see them each separate. So now, I have a series of objects that make up the eye. You see I can hide or show those individually. To group them, make sure you select all the parts of the object you want to group together. Make sure they're selected over here with the circles, and hit either Object Group or Control or Command G. And then make sure to name your new group. But if you want to come in and change something in here, an easy thing to change is the color. So come in, double click here, I can pull down to something like this. Let's click OK. And click OK. So right away, I have my first variation with the eye color changed. And then I could either do the same here, or I can copy over my eye and move it over. A handy shortcut, if you're duplicating objects in Illustrator, is to hold down Alt, and then left click and drag to create a copy of whatever object you want to copy. Then I can move it over, and I can delete, whoops, make sure the circle's selected, not the layer. I can select the old one and delete it. And again, make sure to try and keep your layers organized. You can rename a layer by double clicking on the name of it. Right eye. Alright, so I have my first variation here. You see that I can also go in and modify things like the hair. So by default I could just hide the hair and create it again, or I could start modifying my hair and moving it around. You see here that I have a hair highlight and the base hair itself. I think for this I'm just going to go ahead and delete my hair highlight by selecting it. Oops, make sure it's visible, selecting it and hitting delete. And then what I can do is I can start modifying this hair around. If you want to start modifying the points on something that I like to do is come up here to my selection tool, or hit V as your shortcut, and double click on it. This will take you into an exclusion mode. You can only modify or work on that object. Once you're in here, you can click on the direct selection tool by hitting A, or grabbing, and you can start grabbing these points on the model. In order to grab them, make sure you click on the model, the object, make sure you click on the point that you would like to grab, or left click and drag to grab multiple points at once, and you can start moving them around or modifying them this way. So you'll see that just by pulling and pushing points around in Illustrator, you can start changing up how the object looks. So we can start with something like that. You'll notice that I've got a pretty jagged edge. If I want to smooth that out, I can come over here. Here's my Look Like the Shaper tool, and right click and select the smooth tool. Go to my smooth options by double clicking, and I can see that fidelity can be set to smooth. I can say OK. So I can try to smooth it out by left click and dragging over top. And you'll see I get a much cleaner result. So it's a quick way to kind of clean up your object if it's very jagged or has a lot of edges. Okay, that looks good to me. So what I'm going to do is select my direct selection and hit escape to zoom back out or come in here. Something else I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and change the color of that hair. So I'm going to select my hair tool, double click over here on the fill, and that'll bring up my color picker. And I can select something like this. If I'm looking to highlight, like I did up on this one, something that I can do, and the way that I usually put highlights, so I'll go to the hair tool, and just to start with, I'm going to come up here to my rectangle tool, right click, and select an ellipse. So what I can do now is I can left click and drag out my ellipse. It doesn't have to be perfect to start. Just something like this, and I'll change the color to something lighter. And then I'll start messing with the position. Okay, I usually skew these and rotate. If I'm wondering how it's going to look with my placement on see over, I can drop the opacity down here to something like 32%. And kind of see where I'm placing it and what kind of getting a preview of what it's going to look like. Once I feel like I'm ready to place it, I can scale the opacity back up, and then I can select my base hair and my hair highlight by holding down the Shift key and clicking. Once I have that, I can come over here to the Shape Builder tool, which is super handy for stuff like this. And I can see that if I hover over these shapes, I get this plus icon. If I want to take out a shape, I can hold down the Alt key, maybe the Option key on Mac, and you see that turns into a minus. If I left click while that's a minus, it'll take it away completely. And I have a nice highlight left over top. I can continue to modify the highlight from here if it's looking weird. I can grab the anchor points like I've done previously and clean it up a bit. Again, you may notice that I'm moving the shape below it a bit. If I ever want to keep that from happening, I can double click. Remember, you have to be in selection mode, not direct selection mode, and that will put me in this exclusive mode where I can only modify the one shape I'm working on, isolation mode. And then I can grab these without fear that I'm moving anything underneath it. I think that looks good enough, so I'll leave that for now. Something I don't like about the hair is I'd like it to come down a little bit more. So I'm going to go into isolation mode, and I'm going to pull these anchor points down here a bit more. I also need to clean up. Again, if I need to, I can always come in with the smooth tool and clean them up there. You see I have a little bit of a gap here now between things. I can take care of that in a couple ways. I think right now I'm just going to move this over. Just something like that. Doesn't need to be too neat. Something else I'll need to make sure to do is change the color of the eyebrows. And I'm going to clean my layers by moving this down here and renaming it Hair Highlight. Just to keep myself organized. If you need to find an object in your layers, you can left click on it, and whatever is selected down here, if it's on a path, it'll show you with this red dot here that it's in group somewhere, and then you can go down and find the red dot again and find what you need to change. If you want to recolor it to something that you already have on your swatch, you can come up to the eyedropper tool or hit I right here. You see I have it selected. I can select a color and it will recolor it. Blends together a bit. I am going to change the color, but this gives me a better starting point to work from. Something else I can do is change the fill color of the object. So if I want to modify the user's skin color on the head, I could come in here to the head highlight, the head default color. And modify these as well. Keep in mind I only need to do it for the two, so I have my highlights and my shadows, both for the nose and here. All I need to do is select that, hit I, and I can grab it from my fill. Eyedropper, grab, and we're good to go. I'll also need to grab it for my ears as well. Right now I currently have my ears as groups, so I'll need to double click. You see I can go into isolation mode for the group, and that will allow me to select both objects. If you want to go down another level, you can also isolate the object in the group too, so now I'm only looking at the outside ear. If you set up escape, it'll take you all the way back. For now, let's double click. Select the outside ear. And select the part that we want to select. So for this one, double click, select outside ear, and select that one. Then you can come back, and you see now this is working inside pretty well. Other things we can change are things like the shirt color or the outfit entirely. That's all up to you. I think that's good enough for a minor variation on this vector avatar. You're looking to make 6 total, so let me go ahead and create another one. I'm going to go ahead and start duplicating, and I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. I've gone ahead and duplicated this avatar again. Other things you can change are the avatar's expressions. So if we come in here and we rotate the eyebrows up and reposition, you can see we get a very different look. If we come into isolation mode here, we start pulling down, I can select both halves. These anchor points, maybe not both halves for now. Drag these up on the mouth. Drag these down like this. If I'm worried that this isn't rounded enough, I can come in here. And use my scale tool. So to do this, select the points that you would like to scale, then hit S on your keyboard. That'll place a center point somewhere on here. You can't do that by clicking around, but I can take now, click and drag, and you'll see that I'll move parts of my piece uniformly, so I can move both sides at the same time. If you're done, you can come back out of here, and you can keep playing with the expressions. Something else I like to do sometimes, let me go into isolation mode for 1 second. And then if I have pieces like this, it's more straight. Actually modify these out like this and get a more dynamic shape. Notice that as a group you're going to be moving them both independently, but you can always go into the group and select this and move it. I don't think that bottom lip's working, so I'm just going to delete it out and scale this up a bit. Real fast, I'll show you some tricks you can do with the Pathfinder and the Shape Builder tool. So I'm going to select the background color, grab an ellipse, I'm going to start clicking and dragging. To make sure this is centered, I can hold down Shift to scale it uniformly, although I don't think I need to, so I'm just going to hold down Alt or Option instead. So I can fill something like this. Now from here, what I can do is click here and left click here to select both of them. I'll come down to the Shape Builder and I'm just going to get rid of that up top to create these teeth. And then I want to make sure that I put this in my mouth group, and you see I don't know if you saw that, but let me do it again, that you can reposition objects within here. So I'm going to call this teeth. I can grab this, left click and drag, and I can just put it on top of my mouth and it will drop that right down in there. You see now I have that in that group. I'm going to continue to work on different variations here, but I just wanted to show you that also modifying expressions was something that you could do and you should try doing when you construct these vector avatars. Just keep playing with variations and filling out your characters and finding out how much easier it is to work with them and how much more quickly you can work when you have the base character to work off of. Fill it out until you have 6 characters on your sheet and you should be good to go. Thank you all for watching. Please message me or email me if you have any questions about the assignment. Thank you so much.